I'll be presenting my SENG475 project, which is a falling sand game. I'm going to start out by giving a bit of background information about the project, and then moving on to a live demo. So what exactly is a falling sand game? Well, it's a form of cellular automata simulation. So this means that it's based around updating a matrix using a few simple rules. In the case of our falling sand game, each element of the matrix represents an individual particle, where each particle has an element type that determines the exact rules that it is updated on. So there's three main sets of rules we use to update particles. There's movement rules, which determine how the particles move. So for example, a solid particle would move at all, a powder particle would move and sort of form sand piles. A liquid particle will move and try and spread out and fill its surrounding area. And gas particles will diffuse. Next we've got lifetime rules, which allow us to do things like have steam turn back into water after a set amount of time. Lastly, and most interestingly, we've got contact rules. These describe what should happen if two particles are in contact with each other. So for example, if we have a fire particle in contact with a wood particle, this will effectively catch the wood on fire by converting wood particles into fire particles. So using these relatively simple rules, we can have fairly complex behavior arising. So let's take a look at these rules in action. So if we run the demo script, we get a GUI window here. We've got a bunch of buttons on the bottom we can use to select the element type, and we can adjust the size of our brush using the left and right square brackets. So you can see as we add sand, it roughly forms piles as we would expect. We can add some water into the simulation too, which will generally flow out and equalize into something that looks like a fluid. So we've got a couple other particles. We've got wall particles, which are just indestructible particle, which is just an indestructible solid we can use to separate areas. We've got oil, which is a liquid that behaves like water, except it floats on top of it and is flammable. So we've also got wood particles, which are another solid. These particles will grow if they come into contact with water. We've got salt, which is similar to sand, except if we add it to water, it will dissolve and form salt water. You can see that the salt water is slowly eating away at the wood. So we've got two last interesting particles to talk about. We've got fire and lava. So fire is a gas particle that will diffuse and light things on fire if they're flammable. So we've got oil here. If we light it on fire, we can see the fire quickly spreads through the oil and converts a little bit of our water into steam. Can also light wood on fire. So the last particle to talk about is lava, which is a hot liquid that will light things on fire and turn water into steam. So if we add a bit of lava to our water, we can see a bunch of our water is boiled off into steam and our lava's cooled down and turned into sand. Also will light wood on fire if we do that. So these are most of the rules. You can see the steam slowly condenses back into water and rains down.